Hey guys, this is Nostalgia Network, or Jay, and today I'm going to be doing another one of these memory lane videos. Today we're going to be talking about my earliest Dragon Ball memories. Dragon Ball Z, Morley specifically. This is the anime that got me into anime before I even knew what anime even was. So I think I might have been like 5 or 6 years old when I first caught it on my cousin's, as I mentioned during my Toonami memories video, that I was watching Buu Saga on like VHS in my cousin's room at my aunt's place, and I think it was like with like Fat Buu, no, not Fat Buu, Fat Gotenks when Gotenks Fusion failed the first time. I remember I thought it was kind of funny, although I don't really quite understand what I was watching. I still remember it being cool. And the real first fight from Dragon Ball I remember watching was Vegito versus Super Buu. And that screenshot, I would say that screenshot of like Vegito holding Buuhan by his key sword, that scene was like my first exposure to like anime. I think this might have taken place before my cousin's house, maybe. When I think about it. So yeah, Vegito versus Buuhan is my first exposure to Dragon Ball. And then afterwards, I remember watching Dragon Ball GT. Mostly GT because by the time I was older, Dragon Ball Z ended on Toonami. So I remember Dragon Ball GT being on more often than Z, and how different and how more edgy that GT was, mainly because of the Step Into the Grand Tour like soundtrack. And I know a lot of people hate it. But then something happened when I lost cable for about a year and a half. And then about a year later, when we got cable back, Toonami wasn't a thing anymore. Toonami actually ended. And as a kid, I was like, oh, that sucks. That sucks. And then by then, DB's Dragon Ball Z and GT and all those other anime like One Piece and Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon kind of left my mind for a very long time, until I was much older, when I was like 9 or 10, and I just keep thinking like, what was that show that I used to watch as a kid? I can't remember. That Japanese cartoon. I can't remember what that show was. And so then I watched, when I was around 10 or 11, there was a commercial on TV. It was for commercial for Dragon Ball Z Raging Blast 2. And I was like, Dragon Ball Z, that's the name of the show I used to watch. And it has a video game too. And then I started watching, and then around the time when I was around 8 or 9, I started watching YouTube videos. And then I started watching clips of Dragon Ball Z on YouTube, and that's how I got into AMVs and like Dragon Ball Z AMVs, Naruto AMVs, listening to like Benjamin, Drowning Pool, Linkin Park, 3 Days Grace, Godsmack, Red, all those AMVs I used to watch of like artists as a kid. So then, and by the time I got into junior high, I started meeting a lot more friends that were also into Dragon Ball Z, same as me. And this is also around the time when I started getting into like other like fan stuff, like Dragon Ball AF, believing that it was real, and little kid me really wanted me to believe that it was real, finding like these like fan art images of like Zycor and Super Saiyan 5 Goku, which is actually named Toplos, and that's not even Super Saiyan 5, it's actually called Spirit Killer. Fun fact. So yeah, I was all about like Dragon Ball Z. Like no other anime mattered to me besides Dragon Ball. I was a Dragon Ball fanatic as a kid. And then by the time I got into high school, was when around Battle of the Gods first came out. And for the first time in a long time, I was hyped. Hyped for new Dragon Ball. I was shitting my pants for excitement. So I was like, oh my god, I can't wait. I want to watch it, but it didn't come out in America until like a year and a half, I think. But then I found out to watch Battle of Gods with English subtitles on YouTube, out of all places. Yeah, on YouTube, just full Battle of Gods movie in Japanese with English subtitles. I mean, the quality was shit, but because you have to change the audio, you have to change the visuals for copyright, especially back then. I'm pretty sure that video's no longer up anymore, or it could be. I can't remember. But then a year and a half later, I was going into junior year. Yeah, I think it was junior year when I went to go see the movie theater. I went to go see Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods with my parents, and in English dub. And oh my god, the fucking I will not let you destroy my world. Oh my god, Sean Schemmel as Goku. Oh my god, he always like nails it as Goku. Especially during that scene, like I got chills in the movie theater just watching that. Just watching like Battle of Gods, with the fight with Goku and Beerus, Super Saiyan God, and even after when the Super Saiyan God form kind of faded, basically the second half of the battle, when then it took into space, and yeah, that's like one of the best like movie theater experiences I've ever had. And then I bought it on DVD, watched it then. And then a year later, I think, in 2015, Resurrection F came out. And then the English dub came out the same year. But I didn't get to go see it. This was also around the time when I started watching Dragon Ball YouTubers, which was very new at the time. Like Quaman's Land, Black and Fist, Thundershot 69, later Geekdom 101. And then later Blackscape, which was during around the Super era. I was so excited that Dragon Ball Super was like coming out, like, a new series and all that shit. 18 years, we haven't had a new series since. But first, let's go back for a little bit because there's something that I forgot to mention. Dragon Ball Kai. When I was like, during the time of my watching YouTube, watching all those fan videos and all that stuff, the Dragon Ball AF era. I remember watching Dragon Ball Z Kai on CW4 Kids Toons. Yeah, I think it was CW4 Kids Toonsai. Even when I was a kid, I knew that something was off because Z Kai was very censored. Like Mr. Popo was blue, and some scenes were cut out, like literally. Like with Frieza getting cut in half. It didn't really show him getting cut in half. It just, I don't know. That was pretty much like my reintroduction into Dragon Ball Z. That was when I started getting into the lore and the story and through the Kai version. And then it got canceled. And then Toonsai got canceled. And then Dragon Ball Kai came back as the final chapters. And I watched all of it in subbed. So, because there was no dub for it back then. I think it was Crunchyroll, that I watched it on. Can't remember. Anyway, back to fast forwarding to Dragon Ball Super era. I watched it all, in subbed, on Crunchyroll. That's pretty much the only anime I ever watched on Crunchyroll. This was around the era when I started getting into other anime, like, Soul Eater, Sword Art Online, Fairy Tail, and Kuroko no Basket, and all the bunch of anime that were popular at the time. I loved Dragon Ball Super as it was airing and watching Geekdoms and Quaman's Lands, video review, like reviews of each episode as they came out weekly. So then, looking back at it now, Dragon Ball Super, I thought it was pretty cool, with the whole Ultra Instinct. Oh my god, Ultra Instinct. Ultra Instinct, when episode 19 and 110 came out, The internet was, it broke the internet for sure, and I was there to witness it because I was having problems with my Crunchyroll account. Like it won't play it. It won't play episode 19 or 110 because both those episodes came out the same week. I think it was a Wednesday. No, Sunday. It was a Sunday. But yeah, and also watching live reactions to like the finale of the Tournament of Power. Like, for example, like Kagi Films, watching his reaction live with his friends. Yeah, it's like I was actually there. I never really got to have friends to watch anime with me growing up, and which sucks. But just being there in like live streams of like very hyped events in the Dragon Ball Super really made me feel like I was there. Like I was part of that experience, and just the feeling itself was just so, it was awesome. And then it sucked when Dragon Ball Super ended, and well, it's currently on break. And then we got Dragon Ball Super Broly. I almost went to go see that in theaters, but my mom's boyfriend at the time, it was snowing, and it was snowing hard, and so we were like, and so we went to go see like this IMAX theater, but we got lost in the snow. And since you guys know I live in Washington, we ended up in Seattle, out of all places. So we got very lost. And yeah, pretty shitty experience. But then my cousin got me the movie on DVD, which I love her. But I remember loving the movie, and it's probably one of the best Dragon Ball Z movies ever. Like, one of them. And then we got Dragon Ball Super Superhero, which I thought was pretty cool. I thought the movie being in 3D was interesting. Just interesting. Yeah. So yeah, and I went to go see that one in theaters with my mom. And again, one of the best movie theater experiences, except for the fact that I keep getting spoiled online. Which, due to me being chronically online, that's probably not a good thing. Anyway, and once again, to try to back up a little bit when it comes to the Dragon Ball Z video games. So back to when I was a teenager, I found a PS2 in my mom's friend's garage that he doesn't play on anymore, and it was all dirty, and some pieces of it were missing, like little tiny pieces. And I still have it today. Where I remember going to GameStop back when they used to sell PlayStation 2 games. I remember buying Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2, 3, Infinite Worlds, and just having a blast with all 4 of those games on the PlayStation 2. And then years later, I got to play Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2, and then eventually 3. I didn't really bother getting 1. I didn't bother getting the first one until just a few years ago during early COVID, when I bought the game off of eBay, just so, not really to play it, but just so I can have it. Yeah, remember having fun playing those games, mostly just watching computer versus computer, mostly, because I wasn't really good at Tenkaichi 2 or 3. I was mostly good with traditional Budokai Trilogy, Infinite World, like not 2D, like just side-scrolling instead of the whole 3D space and all that. Those games are good, not gonna lie. I don't know, it just wasn't for me. I wasn't really good. Yeah, and then I got my PS3, and by the way, this is when the PS4 was brand new, and I got my PS3 late. And my first game on the system was Dragon Ball Battle of Z. For some reason, yeah, the game was not good. Then I got Burst Limit, which I thought was a better game because, like I said, I'm way better at the traditional Budokai side-scrolling fighting game instead of the Tenkaichi free roaming style of like fighting. Yeah, I think that's all for the gaming portion of Dragon Ball. Like I said, like, I'm just a Dragon Ball fanatic. Like, anything about Dragon Ball, I know it when it comes to, like, lore. Fast forward to 2014, when, sadly, Akira Toriyama sadly passed away. Yeah, it was, my life was going pretty good, in 2024 so far, and then I kind of went downhill, when the news of Akira Toriyama sadly passing away, and due to a tragic loss in my family, which, yeah, I won't go into detail, but yeah, 2024 was a very challenging year for my family and I. But then Dragon Ball Daima came out, and I just felt my happiness return, because Dragon Ball Daima was a breath of fresh air, really. I really enjoyed Dragon Ball Daima. My ranking of, like, the Dragon Ball series would probably be, like, at the bottom would be, like, Super Dragon Ball Heroes, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super, yeah, and then Dragon Ball Kai, and then Dragon Ball Z. Now, where would I put Daima? I would put Daima above Super, but below Dragon Ball. That's basically just right in the middle. Right in the middle, because I just think it's that good. Sure, there were some things that I kind of didn't really like how the show was so short, so it was only like 20 episodes. And there was the whole English dub situation, and I was also reading the Dragon Ball Super manga around the same time as the Dragon Ball Super anime was airing. Then the anime passed the manga and all that. And I read all from the Moro arc all the way up to the superhero arc, and then later the one shot in 2025 one shot back in February. Now we're just waiting for the manga to come back, pretty much. So yeah, Dragon Ball, like I mentioned, will always have a special place in my heart, because I just love Dragon Ball so much. Dragon Ball is pretty much the reason why I love the battle shonen of anime. If I had to say, like, my favorite, like, animated TV shows of all time, it'd be like Dragon Ball Z and Ed, Edd n Eddy were like my top two. They're like the very top of, like, one of my favorite animated series of all time. I mean, sure, like, they're both very different shows. And Gravity Falls, but that wouldn't be until I was a teenager. I think that's all I have to say for this installment of my memory lane. So if you guys have a good day, and maybe I'll talk about more like my video game history later on in the future. Let me know what you guys want me to talk about next. So yeah, this is Nostalgia Network. Stay in the good times.